Panic attack. It was Christmas Eve, 1990, and London had shut itself in. The shops were closed, the buses had stopped, and the last tube had already rumbled off into the dark. Jenny stood outside the locked-staff gates of Wembley Stadium, the night sharp with frost and heavy with silence. She pulled her coat tighter around her, her gloved hand clutching the strap of her bag like it held her life, and in a way, it did. Inside the bag was her first full pay packet. Real money, honestly earned. She hadn't had that in a long time. She turned her face east, towards home. The walk would take hours, but she didn't care. She was determined. Shane would be waiting, bouncing on the sofa at Grandad's, eyes glued to the telly, asking over and over, "Is Mum coming now?" She had to be there. She had to. Jenny walked briskly past shuttered pubs, their windows dark. The streets were empty. The whole city felt like it had exhaled and gone still. But inside her, the panic stirred. It always did when the silence dragged on too long. She wasn't born anxious. It had been him, David, her ex. 3 years she spent locked in that tiny flat in Leighton, raising Shane, while nursing bruises and flinching at every slammed door. David had a way of making love feel like a trap, and freedom like betrayal. The last time he'd hit her, in front of Shane, something broke. She'd fled barefoot, carrying her boy in the rain, and never went back. She still heard his voice in her dreams, still woke up choking on air, the room closing in around her. The panic attacks came after. At first, she thought she was dying. Now she just managed them. Sometimes. Her new job as a stadium security guard had helped. It was the first place she'd felt strong, respected, safe. She kept her head down, didn't go out, didn't date. Shane was her everything, her reason. But tonight wasn't safe. Somewhere past Harlesden, she saw them. A group of lads, 6 or 7, clustered under a flickering street lamp near the old estate. Bikes, tracksuits, hoods, cigarettes glowing like tiny eyes. They watched her. She looked down and kept walking. "Oi," one shouted. "You lost, sweetheart?" She didn't answer, just picked up the pace. "Where you off to in a hurry, love?" Another one jeered, and the tires squealed as bikes rolled towards her. Her heartbeat kicked up. "Leave me alone," she said, not looking at them. One of them wheeled in front of her, blocking the pavement. She stepped into the road, but another cut her off. She turned. "Let me pass." "What you got in the bag?" one asked, nodding towards her shoulder. "It's mine." He lunged. She yanked it away. "Get off me." They laughed, the sound sharp and mean like knives. Another reached for her coat. She shoved him back, heart hammering. That was enough. She turned and ran. Their bikes scraped and rattled behind her. One threw a can that hit the pavement beside her and exploded with a bang. She didn't scream. She didn't look back. She just ran. Boots slipping on the icy pavement, lungs burning. Her mind spun. Don't fall. Don't fall. Keep moving. She darted into a side street. The windows here were boarded, the streetlights dead. At the end of the alley, she spotted a crumbling off-license, long abandoned, a gap in the boards. She slipped inside and crouched behind the dust-caked counter, chest heaving. Outside, the bike skidded to a stop. "Oi, slag, come out and play." Glass shattered. They were throwing bottles again. Laughter echoed like it belonged to a pack of wolves. Her hands shook. She tried to keep her breathing steady, but the old terror returned, crawling over her skin. The panic gripped her throat like a fist. No mobile phones, no help, no one around. She made herself crawl through the back. The rear door was swollen shut, but a window was smashed in. She hauled herself through it, glass tearing at her coat, then dropped down into weeds and overgrown grass. Behind the building, the railway tracks ran like a dark river, a disused bit of the overground, mostly for freight this late. She slid down the embankment and onto the trackbed, hoping the gang would give up. For a while she walked. The sound of her boots on the gravel was the only thing she could hear. She kept glancing back, the cold biting through to her bones. The further she walked, the more she allowed herself to believe she was safe. But then she slipped. The rail was slick, and she went down hard, ankle twisting beneath her. She cried out, trying to stand, but her legs screamed in pain. She was stuck. No, 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 she sobbed, trying to crawl forward, dragging herself along the rails. Her hand reached into her bag, feeling for anything to use. The note with Shane's drawing, her wage envelope. Useless, all of it. And then came the rumble. Faint, distant, but growing. A light in the dark. No, please. She waved, screamed, tried to roll off the tracks. Her ankle wouldn't budge. The light grew brighter. A Royal Mail train. The driver, just a shadow behind the glass, didn't see her. The last sound Jenny heard was the screech of brakes that came too late. She covered her face and the metal ripped her apart like paper. Blood soaked the frosted stones on the track. A few hours later, on Christmas morning, Shane was already awake, unwrapping a chocolate Santa by the tree. Grandad shuffled to the door when he heard the knock, slow and uncertain. Blue lights reflected in the frosted window. 2 officers stood outside, hats in hand. And somewhere, just beyond the sound of the telly and the flickering fairy lights, came the first whisper of the day's heartbreak. That was Christmas in 1990. The end.